Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining our show again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people that are interested in what's happening in the cities in the Northwest area. If you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have someone on from one of the 9 cities in the CCX's viewing area, telling about what issues that city is dealing with currently and things that are looking on into the future. So we're glad that you're interested, and we'll also encourage you that if it's your city this week, be sure to take down the phone number and the email of our speaker so that if any of the issues really resonate with you, that you can be in contact with them. Now, we're very happy tonight to welcome as a guest tonight Mayor Kathi Hemken from New Hope. That's my city, right?
Yes, it is.
And so we're glad to have you with us again.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's always good to be here.
And I always have my guests, as you well know, introduce themselves out to the wider audience. People in New Hope would know about you, but other cities might not. Maybe you can tell them a little bit about your time in New Hope.
Well, I'm Kathi Hemken. I'm the mayor of New Hope, and I've lived here in New Hope for 40 years. Absolutely love my city. Decided about 9 years ago that I wanted to do something besides just plant flowers. And so I ran for public office for mayor, had no politics in mind at all, and won, and that was kind of a surprise to me. Absolutely love the job. So I wish to continue to do this for a little while, maybe 3 more years. I just got reelected to my 3rd term. Since I've lived here all my life, I really have a large contingency of folks that I know.
Oh, right.
That's how I get a lot of stuff done.
Mm-hmm. And then you've seen lots of changes over time, right? Because you've been here how long?
40 years.
Yeah.
So I got to watch the new YMCA being built in 1976. Of course, Kmart came down, Hy-Vee went up. I saw the 281 building being built. So a lot of changes.
Oh, right. Now, the first issue that we talked about earlier ahead of time was road construction, because all of our cities have some measure of doing it. Maybe let's start out with what is the overall planning part for New Hope? Because each city does it a little differently. They're doing the same thing, but differently.
For 10 or 12 years, we've been taxing people. We've had a levy in their taxes. So New Hope's taxes are a little bit higher because that money goes into a pot for road construction.
Right.
And we were continually repairing our roads. And about 4 years ago, we realized that we were losing ground. We were having a lot of water main breaks. And when that happens, they have to dig a big hole. They go down and fix the stuff.
Right.
That's very expensive to continue to fix that. And we keep track of our water main breaks.
Right.
And so what they were doing is they'd look at the map and say, we've got 20 water main breaks on these couple streets.
Right.
So then when we do a total reconstruction, that means they dig down. When they do that, of course, if there's a tree planted right there on the boulevard and you're digging a hole, you're cutting off half those roots.
Right.
That tree's going to fall over, or at least going to die. We know that tree has to come down if that happens. So what's happened in the last few years is we've done total reconstruction on streets, and we've had to bond for that.
Right.
Bond, borrow, take out a loan. Those are all words for borrowing money. We have to bond for that. Because these are $2, $3, $4 million projects. That would deplete the money that we've had saved up. We still use that money from the taxes to repair and mill and overlay streets. But when we have to do total reconstruction like that, it's very expensive. We've spent about $19 million doing these total reconstructions in the last 3-4 years. We're just about done with the streets, and of course it's a continual thing. Every year or so we'll mill and overlay, but these total reconstructions, and not every street needs reconstruction.
Right.
I happen to live on a street that doesn't have any water main breaks.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hill. We don't have a water source nearby. My street gets mill and overlaid. I pay that same amount into my levy as everybody else does. But I probably will never have a major total reconstruction on my street because it doesn't need it.
Well, and then because you levy the taxes, people aren't assessed many thousands of dollars when your street is done, right?
That's the reason we did this.
Right.
Because when you're living in a house, and if you're a senior, and all of a sudden you get a $6,000-7,000 bill because they fixed the thing in front of the road in front of your house. You kind of want to argue about that. Well, I don't have any potholes in front of my house, so let's not fix that. Well, you can't fix up to here and then down there and leave that. It all gets fixed. And so we didn't think that was fair to assess people for the road construction right in front of the house. Everybody uses all the roads. Well, maybe not all of them, but you know, people drive up and down my road that don't live there. I drive up and down your road and I don't live there. And so it's important that all the streets in New Hope are treated equally and all the citizens are treated equally. So when we bond like this, everybody's paying, but they're all paying into this pot again. And we probably won't have to bond. We're going to bond for the northward north section that we're doing now, but we probably won't have to bond after that.
Oh, so then you've covered a lot of the ones. Well, and the underneath the road, some of that goes back 25, 30 plus years,
Oh, more than that. I mean, a lot of that stuff is original. And so that's been there 50, 60 years. And when they put that in, they put in clay pipes, and of course they deteriorate. Well, they're not clay. I think they're steel or something. But they deteriorate and they break and roots grow into them, and you know, things that are beyond our control. And it isn't that we haven't been maintaining our streets. We have. But when you have all these water main breaks, you have to do something serious, and we're doing something serious.
Now, what kinds of information do people in the area that will be done this summer, or I suppose they're already starting on it now?
They are.
And what area will be covered?
Well, right now, this summer they're doing Northwood Lake. That's right off of Boone. They're doing the north part, from the lake up to 42nd, and from Boone all the way over to 169. So the first thing they do is they identify the trees that are going to have to come down. And they did that, last year they did it with big pink X's. This year they're doing it with white dots. Not quite so obvious, but the tree still has to come down. So they're taking those trees down, and then they notify the neighbors what's going to happen, and they notify them that they're taking the trees down, and then they get a weekly update. These people that are doing this go door to door and talk to the neighbors, so they know exactly what's happening. They hook up water, so they'll have water and sewer. They're not going to be without that stuff for a while. They're going to be living in a mud pile. It rains, it's muddy, it's dirty, it's messy, and it's going to be all summer. But they do tell them they're trying to do like one street at a time, as opposed to demolish it all and then build it all. They'll do one street at a time in different sections. But it's still, when that street's right in front of your house, it seems forever. Try really hard to get done as soon as they can, because of course they want to move on to another job. And they don't want to inconvenience the neighbors any more than they have to. People ask me, well, what if we have an emergency? And I tell them, I'll tell you, if you have an emergency, that ambulance is driving over your lawn, if it needs to.
If they have to.
That ambulance is going to get to you, and somehow they'll take care of that. We've never had that kind of emergency, but we do have a contingency plan in place, so that if we do have that kind of emergency, we know how to handle that.
Well, let's move into talking about New Hope's comprehensive plan, because all of our cities every 10 years have to update their comprehensive plan, and they're heading in towards the update, and it takes a while to do, right? So the next update is
18. It's due in 18.
And it's under the auspices of the Met Council, but I thought you could tell us briefly about some of the areas that New Hope is looking at to update for that comprehensive plan.
So what we do is we have the community development guys go out and target areas that they think need to be developed. Not that we're going to buy them, not that we're going to take them. We can't take them with like we used to. You know, you just can't do that anymore. But they're in the plan that says, if we have a chance, let's take this apartment building and change it into something else. So that goes into the comprehensive plan. A lot of the stuff is there every single year. We will do the roads, we will make sure the water's clean, you know, all that kind of stuff. Typically when they do this, they take the census from 10. And why it takes so long is totally beyond me, but that census gets done in 10, and then it has to go somewhere, and then it goes and then it goes, and then, so finally we get the thing back from the Met Council that says, we think this is your census and this is how it's broke down.
Right.
And so we get that information back, and then they give us a year and a half to 2 years to do this, this comp plan. So we identify what we think needs to be done. When we did the comp plan at 10, one of the things we indicated was we needed a new police and city hall.
Right.
That was back in 10 when we were, in 08 actually, when we did the last one. Did it happen? No, and we'll talk about that later. But it was in the plan. We knew that was coming.
Right.
We also put in that plan like our parks. Every other year we do a park. It's in the comprehensive plan that we will do that. And we look at the park that's got the oldest park equipment. If the equipment's good, we do nothing. But right now they've done Fred Sims Park. That park had been there, that equipment's at 92. Wasn't real safe. After 25 years, it's probably time to replace that.
Right.
So those kinds of things are in the comprehensive plan, and they do that because when you're right next to a city, and like Crystal, you know, we're a lot of the things that we do, we might be surrounded by Crystal. We want to make sure that the Crystal knows that that's in our comprehensive plan.
Oh, right, and that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Each city that is bounded by New Hope, on New Hope's boundaries, you have to share your plan with them.
And they have to share theirs with us.
Right, vice
and
versa.
so we look at those plans. We don't want a 40-story building right on 62nd Avenue in Brooklyn Park. And if that was in their comprehensive plan, we'd probably say, no, thank you, we don't want that there. So we share it with each other in all the surrounding cities. And then there's the things that go through all the cities, the water pipes coming in.
Oh, yeah.
The waste pipes going out. Those kinds of things are in the comp plan. So we get a group of people together. Some of them are just residents.
Okay.
A lot of them are people that are from our staff because the community development guys, they know what's going on. They need to be on that team. We bring a guy in that helps us go through the process to do this. He actually looks at each thing and says, I think you could leave section 2 and 3 and 4. Let's look at section 5. And so then we go over that and we make changes to that. And once that gets all done, it goes off to the Met Council, who then sends it off to the cities, who then look at it and bring it back, make the changes, back out to them. Yep, those changes are what you said. In the meantime, we're looking at theirs and doing the same kind of thing. And then once it's all done in 18, it just becomes part of, and everybody gets a copy. Well, everybody, the cities get a copy, but we have copies of other cities' comprehensive plans too. And if we need to remind them that they said they were going to not do that, we don't necessarily hold them to doing that because a lot of
things can change.
It's a plan. It's a 10-year plan, and it's kind of where you want to go. You may not get there, but it's where you wanted to go, and you have to have a plan.
And it's because the New Hope hires a consultant to help, right?
Yes, we do.
And some of the bigger cities do it themselves, but a lot of them do.
Most of the bigger cities hire somebody. It's the smaller cities that have the problem because they don't really know all the stuff that has to be done. And so they'll go to a consultant and have them help them a little bit. The bigger cities, they get help too because you have a staff and your staff runs the city day to day.
And they're working hard,
Yeah, they don't necessarily have time to look at this plan. Or you don't always have a person that's been doing this job for 20 years. So the consultant we bring in has been doing it for 20 years. He's been through a few of these plans. It's not the first time around the block. So he knows. And this
gives a good basis for how you might approach the future.
Yep.
Now, what kind of input do residents have, or how can they learn about what's in the current comprehensive plan?
Well, they can always go to City Hall and look at it. We don't necessarily let it go out just because it's a big book and it may not come back. So they can go there and look if they want to. They can always call the Community Development Department and ask about something. What's your plan on the ash borer? What's your plan for the trees removal? That's in the comprehensive plan.
And this is a good place for people to go if they're looking to buy and sell.
Yes.
Of what's around them and what might be coming.
Yep. So, and that's always available. They should call the Community Development Department, and they'll have that book available, and they will help them find the section they want. When I say it's a big book, it's a big book.
Right.
And we want to help our citizens be as happy as they can be. And so these guys will help them find the section they want. They say, well, is my block up for redevelopment? Well, it might have been considered. Are we developing it? We don't know.
Right.
You know?
And so it's a plan, but if you make changes in it, then you need to bring those changes to the Metropolitan Council.
Yes, you can't change your comp plan necessarily.
Right.
I mean, it's there.
I mean, you change it if you need to, but it has to go through them.
Yep, it has to go through that whole process again.
And we'll put up Jeff Sargent as your community development director. We'll put up his phone number, because if somebody's got any questions about this, he would be the person to talk to, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm going to switch to a completely different topic. There's been a lot in the newspapers about Minneapolis and St. Paul working with different kinds of regulations on their business that they don't usually deal with, dealing with sick leave, dealing with their wages, dealing with maybe packaging, that kind of thing. And I thought, well, let's touch base with each one of the cities on A, what your thoughts are, just personally from your background, but B, if there's any contact from citizens in yours. So have any of the people in New Hope been talking to people on the city council about these issues?
None at all. I haven't heard a single thing. My personal feeling is everyone deserves a working wage. What does that mean exactly? I don't know. But I mean, that's just my personal feeling. I try really hard to keep my personal feelings away from the council feelings, because when we vote on something, we vote as a unit. And I think that's important. We can discuss things. We try really hard not to get involved in things outside of New Hope, those bigger kind of issues.
That's where this was an issue that's different from what a lot of city issues are.
We believe, when I say we, the city council and the city staff, believe that businesses should be allowed to operate within the realms of being legal, of course. But if they feel they want to pay somebody $15 an hour, I think they have the right to do that. If they decide they can't afford to do that, or they don't want to do that for whatever reason, I think they also have the right to do that. I don't think the city should, at least a city the size of New Hope, should be involved in setting a wage. If you set a particular wage and tell all the businesses they have to do that, what do you do with the tipped employees? Are they separate? Do they still get tips? Do we not tip? And what if you set that number and a small business, like say Country Kitchen, says, I can't afford that. So what happens? Do they leave? Do they raise their prices and then they don't get any customers, so then they leave anyway? Do they think it's important to pay them $15 an hour to keep their employees? I think that's really a decision. I mean, again, I'm talking personally.
Oh, right, yeah, that's what I said. I
think that's a personal decision that the company should be able to decide on the sick leave, decide on the wages, and decide on dental care and that whole package thing for them.
Yeah, because there's a lot of problems that would have to be worked through. And they are, to some extent, doing that in Minneapolis, St. Paul. But some people also think, and I'll just ask you to reflect on that too, maybe that needs to be a statewide issue rather than a city issue?
Absolutely it does. If it's a state mandate, then it's a state, like the open on Sundays mandate. I certainly would not step in and say to the citizens in New Hope, we're not going to have our liquor stores open on Sunday. Or we are going to have them open on Sundays. That's not fair to other communities. And I'm not sure, Minneapolis is a big city. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, Duluth, those big cities operate differently. They have different kinds of rules and ordinances and things that go on in their cities. A smaller city, when you start dictating to your businesses, I think that's a mistake. I mean, I personally think it's a mistake. They they need to know, they know, the businesses know what they can pay, how they can operate, what they can do to get people to work there. With our low employment, not low employment, yeah, unemployment rate. It's not hard to find a job in New Hope. We have a lot of jobs in New Hope. And if you don't like where you are, maybe you need to go somewhere else to get that. I don't think I have the authority, nor do I think the city council should have the authority to mandate to our businesses the hours they can be open, the days they can be open, how much they should pay in wages, should they have benefits. I just don't think that's our place at all.
Now, another issue is that, and you've referred to it sideways a little bit, that a new police station and a new city hall have been in the process.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, since 1903, right. I think. No, so actually 2003, we started thinking about this. We have, the current police station is inadequate. We can't put all our police cars inside. They have to sit outside. That really makes them vulnerable to vandals. There's a lot of equipment in those cars. When they're in the winter, they have to run those cars 24 hours a day. Because of the computer equipment, they can't let them get cold. That's really hard on a car, real hard on a car. The police, their private cars, get put in a public lot, if you will. Again, they've been vandalized. I don't think that's fair to the police department. The roof leaks, the plumbing is bad. We have wires going where they shouldn't be going with things leaking on them. We have to run a sprinkler system on the air conditioner to keep it cool in the summer. I mean, there's really a lot of reasons why that 50-year-old building needs to come down. So we started with a task force. Well, we started putting money away. We knew we'd never put enough away, but we wanted to at least be focused on putting some money away. So this has been really in the works for a long, long time. So anyway, we knew we needed to build a new building, so we got this task force. And you can't put the new building where the old one is, because what do you do with the police department? I mean, you just tell the bad guys to wait outside till you get the new building built. So you can't do that. So we looked around in the park area where it is now, where the police department is now, and the soils weren't stable. That's probably why they built it where they built it.
In the first place.
It's kind of a lowland. The only place where the soils were stable is where the pool is. That's not a good idea. So we knew we had to do something. We knew there was only one other place to put it. So once we decided that we would build new instead of try to refurbish old, the cost was about the same. And we'd end up with a fluffed up old building that isn't even serving the problems we have. So the timeline for this, by the way, it's 18.2 million, which I have a real hard time even saying that. That's a big number. I don't care what you call it. That's a big number. What we'll do is we'll bond in two separate years. We'll bond 10 million in 2 separate years because we get a better interest rate by doing that. So the idea is the pool will be open this season, the 17th season. At the end of that season, we'll drain the pool, we'll remove all the stuff that needs to be removed, and then they'll tear that down. Then they'll start putting in the new police station. The hole is already there because of the pool. We're going to have underground parking for the police cars. So they'll put that new police station there, and then when that's built in the city hall, they'll move all of the people over into that, and then they'll tear down the old city hall and put the pool there. Now we have another task force for the pool and the park.
Well, wait just a second. Now at this point you've got 2 or 3 different proposals for what the whole outline. You know that where you have to build a city hall and the police station, but you're still working on
the footprint. We did a space needs study. So they went to each person, each director, and said, how much space do you need? And I was really impressed. These directors, in a lot of cases, their offices got smaller because they were really being honest about how much space they need. Instead of saying, I need 100 square feet, they were really being honest about what they needed. And I was very impressed with that. So then this wool company, this consultant company, With that square footage, they knew that City Hall would be this big, the council chambers that big, the police department
Right.
that big. So they knew how big things are. So they're kind of trying to put it around,
Right.
how is it going to fit best?
Right.
We don't want, there's a residential street right behind it.
Oh, right, right.
Zealand. We don't want Zealand residential to be really disrupted over this. And so we can't put it way back on Zealand. So it's very specific where it's going to go and the shape that it's going to be in.
Right.
So we do have a few proposals. We've been meeting as a task force. There's two groups. There's the group of City Hall people, and they let me sit on that if I'm quiet. And there's the group of citizens,
right,
with some City Hall people. That task force is looking at this, and there's also the people in the City Hall that are looking at it.
Right.
So then once we have something that looks concrete, we'll go to the public with that.
Right.
Because we being the City Council, really believe that the public needs to get in this as soon as possible. Right. But if you just say to the public, we need a new City Hall, what do you want?
They need something to respond to.
Yeah. So we'll show them the plans, the ideas that we have, and then after they come, they'll narrow it down to one, and then we can go back to Wold and say, okay, this is the plan that we've decided on. We're not asking them to decide on what color to paint the walls. Right. We're asking them on the orientation of the building compared to Xylon and compared to Zealand. And it'll be next to the fire department. Right. We want those cop cars coming out onto Xylon like they do now. We want those fire trucks coming out onto Xylon like they do now. We want secured parking for the police cars, the private cars. Right. We want underground parking. These are things we know we have to have. So how do you want it arranged? After we go to the public with that at an open house.
When will they have an open house on it?
Well, first it has to go to the task force.
Right. I mean, they're still putting the bits and pieces together.
Yep, we're still looking at where it should go and how to fix the driveways and how to do the underground thing. Once we get a few of those, 2 or 3 of those plans, it'll go to the citizen task force. Okay. They will look at it. They will say, yeah, that works, that doesn't work, we don't like it, we do like it. Once we get their approval and our approval, the cities, then we'll go out to the public. But we want to make sure that we go to the public with something that they can actually see. Well,
and
so they
you'll
know
have
where we're
several
going.
choices of ways they could go that people can react to.
Yep. We want, this is a big deal.
Oh,
I mean, this is very expensive.
Yes.
We want the citizens they're paying for it. Right. You and I are paying for it. So, and the rest of the citizens in New Hope. We want them to feel that this is their city hall, because it is their city hall.
I just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your time and your expertise with our audience out there. And we want to encourage everyone to be sure to tune in next week for part 2 of New Hope's Issues. And remember, if you're from New Hope, take down Kathi Hemken's phone and email. And if there's an issue that's important to you, let her know your thoughts. Bye.
Bye-bye.